Inland Regional Center's crossover to information management began the day after December 2nd, 2015. Full day, about 10:59 in the morning, chaos would ensue. We would have an active shooter, and at the end the of everything happening, there would be 21 people injured and 14 people dead. Fire alarms start to go off. People are heading out thinking that it's a fire alarm. Staff are being directed back in. Chaos ensues inside the agency because they hear that there's an active shooter. Law enforcement begins to arrive. Staff are separated. Directors and facilities, they're trying to get everybody gathered together. Nobody really knows how to handle this situation. um, Everybody's everywhere. We don't have lists. We don't have people that are accounted for. It took hours for people to get accounted for. A bunch of us were out in a golf course, and it just took hours. So that just goes to tell you that we didn't have a system in place, and we had so much information coming in, but there was no system in place to take care and handle and provide the information to those that needed it as a tragedy, that it ensued. So that was the thing, that the biggest event out of the tragedy of the terrorist shootings that happened in, aside from the people dying for the agency wise. There's tons of information that's pouring in. We don't know who all is receiving the information, and then how do we get this information out? How do we take the information that somebody knows within and that's tacit, and then give it to those that need to have it, and have it become explicit? And how do we codify it to just immerse all of it into one place where everybody can get that and make it accessible to everyone? How do we get all the tallies of everything of what's going on? Those were some of the issues that were definitely forefront identified with Inland Regional Center. Issues, our leadership, we saw how it impacted our leadership, um, and how it also opened up our upper management to be open, to field questions from the line staff. That was an issue that we had before. Line staff didn't have access to upper management. Then the directors would also begin to practice, consistent perspective, collaborating with staff to come up with ideas. How do we get all this information together, and how do we pass it on to the staff? How do we make it collective and easy? It's the biggest thing is, how do we encourage others to allow us to, hey, if you've got knowledge or ideas, share them so that we can come together, because we've got to figure out how to get all of our information out to all of the staff. Impact of the issues, with our upper management, and there were task members from every department. IT and some of the staff managers decided, let's do a Facebook page, and let's spread the word that you have to be an IRC employee to join. And so it was led by our IT department. So they formed a page so that we could communicate with each other. There were some rules that we had to follow, but like staff could check for meetings, information, changes, agency information, all the things that we were going to have to do differently, since the agency was going to be closed for a period of time after the shootings. Is figure out how to work remotely, because upper management had the ability to work remotely, but line staff, they could work remotely, like when they were out in the field doing face-to-face visits. So one of the things that they had to do also, our IT management, along with the state, and along with our directors is figure out how to set up and what equipment and what things would be needed for the staff to work remotely from home for an extended period of time, and not just make that available to the managers, which would mean that we would have to look at cost. We would also have to look at, for that month, asking the state to relax their audit requirements, because there would be a lot of staff that would not be able to go out and do the face to face. So that was a big change that happened. That before, it was just such an extended library attitude and atmosphere that we had, and it was just so IT strong and upper management strong, like they were the only ones privy to it. The shootings made them realize that this type of working collaboration and creating and be able to share information needed to be across the board with all of the staff. Coming out of this, where, contributing some of the contributing factors is there would be insurance repercussions. How were the staff going to feel safe? And we still had to work within budgetary constraints and considering all the changes that we were implementing. iPads for all the case management staff. We're talking over 600 staff that are case management that would need iPads. Then you have the software that needs to be made available for those iPads, the time and that it's going to take for the IT staff and to get other people to help, because you can't just leave it just to our 6 IT staff. There had to be, there was going to be media coverage. How were we going to handle that? There had to be changes to our warning systems. The fire alarm went off. Staff were going out thinking it was a fire drill, when really we needed to have a warning system, and it was implemented after that to be able to give us alerts, different sounds and different alerts for different types of information. That were taken was there was an envoy system set up, which meant that every visitor that came to the building had to be on a visitor's list. No more just drop-bys and walk-ins. The renting of the conference center to other entities, that was stopped. And the reason that that was stopped was because there's no way to get a background check on the people that are coming to use the conference centers. You only have a background check like the county. It was the San Bernardino County Health Department. They show us that they've got insurance. They tell us how many staff are going to be there, what it's going to be, and that's about it. But we get a name of some of the staff, but basically it's pretty much just a contact. So you don't get a lot of information. And when we had an assessment done for safety before the staff came back and to implement safety measures, that was one of the things that was brought up as an issue, was the fact that we had no background on the people that are renting our conference rooms. So that stopped. Then we had to also, we created an Everbridge emergency system that incorporated, we get a flashing on our phone, and it's a different color, and that lets us know that we've got an active shooter. If we get a red flashing along with a fire drill, then that lets us know it's a fire drill. So we've got different colors, and so that we don't always have to use the alarm, thus keeping the staff safe. And all of the entities showed us just how much training and practice and just how different things are after 9/11, post 9/11 compared to pre 9/11. They've just learned so much, and they just came on the scene and everything was bam, bam, bam so quick, where, pre 9/11, we would have been in our building for hours before they would have cleared it out and everything. I mean, granted, yes, we were waiting out at trying to figure out where we were going to go for evacuation, but as far as law enforcement, we were out of the building at least a couple hours. The building's completely emptied out after the incident. Um, so, you know, sharing the knowledge between all of the entities, like the San Diego system that they have, the San Diego fusion system, and all of the entities have that, from government to state to local. When you've got that, you can, sharing all that knowledge and the task force, it just makes your job that much better to respond to. Surface with two things: a stronger sense of identity, a stronger respect for other people's faiths, and a stronger cohesive working nature. I have to say that, yeah, we're very much going towards the age of sharing knowledge, of information knowledge, and we're doing more and more to manage our information, and we're doing it more collaboratively, creatively, and openly. So the identity was a wholeness, a oneness, where before it was kind of like it was a bunch of different departments working for IRC. Now it's a bunch of different departments working in IRC, at IRC, with IRC. That's the biggest difference, is we've become, you can tell that knowledge is, to share knowledge, it does mean to incorporate social, cultural, it's not just black and white what's on paper. It comes from people, and there's so many different ways of doing it. But when you open up to people being creative and being able to share and not being afraid to do it, and just being able to know that they can do their job, this way, if it works better that way, and other people may, being able to share that, that's what makes us a strong agency, which makes us then stronger to advocate for our consumers in the community, and then teach them how to advocate for themselves and empower themselves. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. Lisa Stewart.